On this week's Gridiron Report, we have the NBA trade deadline, including one move that Pistons have already made, and the Michigan State basketball game last week. And it's all brought to you by Pins and Aces, our favorite spot for all your golf apparel needs. Use promo code GRIT for 21% off any product at pinsandaces.com. Let's get into it.
In the heart of the city where the lights grow dim, grit and grind every inch, every rim. From the underdogs rising to the legends that win. It's the Gridiron Report, let the games begin. Every highlight's a journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retire. Gridiron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thundering loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd.
Welcome to the Gridiron Report, your Lions First All Detroit Sports podcast, presented by Mic Drop Studios. Today is Wednesday, February 4th, and I'll just say it. This is my absolute favorite episode of the year, each and every year. I mean, the NBA trade deadline is here. We're going to dive down into, we were planning on diving into what the Pistons should do, some proposals that we were talking about maybe the Pistons should do, whether you wanted them to do it, I wanted to do it. We were going to talk about some things they could do. Pistons kind of shocked everybody by making a move already. So we scrapped our whole idea so far. We're going to break down the trade the Pistons already did, maybe some other ones if we have time. We're going to go straight into them, some Michigan State basketball game results. But this is my favorite episode of the year just because there's so much potential, so many different options you can do. Now, granted, everyone has to remember we live in Detroit. Here in Detroit, we live by the mantra, we are good. Our guys are better than yours. We don't make moves at the deadline. So we had to remember that, but
and we never win championships.
They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. But they did make a move, so we're gonna break down that move. But NBA trade deadline, I mean, it's just the best time of the year.
It's a great time of the year. There's so much buzz, and I mean, you said it, but we were prepping for the show, being like, okay, come to the show with like what moves the Pistons need to make, and then lo and behold, they make a move. At 12 p.m. on Tuesday, and so. What moves can we make now? I don't know. I would like to start with the move for Kevin Huerter. So for anyone who hasn't heard it yet, like I mean, it's pretty much it's breaking news today, Tuesday, as we're recording. But the Pistons are shipping off Jaden Ivey, and Kevin Huerter is coming to town. There's a lot more involved in this trade. The Pistons also get a pick swap as well, but the big pieces that I think we're really focusing on: Jaden Ivey out and Kevin Huerter in. So would love to get your thoughts on it, like knee-jerk reaction, now that you've had a chance to digest it. What are you giving it? What grade are you giving it? Are the Pistons better or worse now? Hopefully better, but what's going on this?
Yeah, so this is really interesting for me because I, for the longest time, was just strictly college basketball and NFL. And a few years ago, I decided, I mean, the Pistons were bad for so long. Like, you can't blame me for that. The Pistons were just so bad. I really got back into the Pistons, into the NBA in general, in Jaden Ivey's draft class. Like, if you guys have been following me for a while, I used to write for a few different publications for the Pistons and the Lions and stuff. And the Pistons drafting, it was actually the class leading up to Jaden Ivey was like the first class that I got back into the Pistons. First guys I really started breaking down guys like Keegan Murray, breaking down guys like Benedict Mathurin, Jaden Ivey. Those were the first guys I dove in and got, just right back in with the Pistons, started writing about it online. So there's a little bit of sentimental feeling here with Jaden Ivey. I have so many thoughts and opinions on this trade. I mean, I could ask you right now, but I already know the answer. Like, neither one of us in our original plan for this episode, and when we were going to talk about different trades we could do, none of us, we didn't have, trading for Kevin Huerter, let alone trading Ivy for Kevin Huerter. It's really, I want to start just with like Jaden Ivey because obviously he's our guy. I'm really sad to see him go. Jaden Ivey was, in theory, when I broke him down all those years ago before we drafted him, I wasn't in love with him coming out of the draft class. I was concerned about his shooting. Obviously, he could get downhill in college when he played for Purdue, but I wasn't thrilled on the shooting. I just didn't necessarily see a fit for him in the NBA. I felt that way for upwards up until last year, really, and it's not his fault. Him and Cade really never got to play together, but then he really started turning around. He was averaging like 17 points a game or something along those lines. He was shooting upwards of like 38% from three. Like, he was putting it all together. Cole Anthony dives into his legs, and just a dirty play that we've seen Cole Anthony do time and time again literally ruined his career here in Detroit, snapped his leg. He hasn't been the same since. So I'm really sad to see him go. Again, there's some sentimental value there. Now, when it comes to this trade in general with Kevin Herter, my first thoughts, and I texted you in our group immediately, like, I hate this. I hate this trade. Kevin Herter, the thought of Kevin Herter is what we need. Like what he is historically done is exactly what we need, but he's not who he used to be. So Kevin Herter, 6'6" from Chicago, or Chicago Bulls, I should say. I think it's like from New York or something. 6'6", shooting guard, small forward. I believe he's 29 years old. Historically, when he played with the Kings back in the day, he was a tremendous sharpshooter, like a 40+ % three point shooter. Exactly 6'6", what we needed. He just hasn't shot the ball like he used to. That was really what he did primarily. I think he averaged like 15 points a game back in the day with Sacramento when they went on a playoff run there. But he's just not doing that anymore. He's the weirdest shooting splits of anyone I've seen in a long time. You look back. This year, he's averaging 31% from three. Last year, he averaged 37% from three, so a lot better. The year before that, he was averaging 30% from three, really bad. The year before that, 33%. And the year before that, 38%. So, like, he's been really up and down, really streaky. It's been almost a year in which he shot like 32% from three. And so I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to get somebody who can space the floor a little more. Because you look at guys like Duncan Robinson. If Duncan Robinson goes down tomorrow, this team is tanked. Like, this team is in deep trouble because we have no one else who can consistently shoot the three ball. So they're trying to replace that and get some insurance, but I just don't see it here. And Dario Saric, who is the other guy who's coming this way, he's a throw-in. He's a guy that would likely be cut. And then obviously, like you said, we got a pick swap. The Timberwolves got involved. Minnesota got involved, just basically to clear some money. And they offered a pick swap. Right now, I haven't seen it be confirmed what that pick swap is going to be. So obviously this summer, if the Timberwolves have a better pick than Detroit in the first round, we have the rights to swap with them. I've seen it is protected. I haven't seen it confirmed, but I've been told that it's a 19th overall protected. So that means if the Timberwolves are worse than the 19th overall draft pick, they can basically kick it to next year. And if they are better than the 19th overall, or I should say better or worse, I guess, depending on how you look at it. If they have the 20th or worse pick, then we can swap with them. So, and I know this is a long-winded answer. This draft class coming up here shortly is supposed to be historically deep. It's supposed to be a really, really good one. There's multiple different reasons. If that pick swap ends up being, we can get someone like Yaxel Lendenberg, who we'll talk about here in the second half of the show with Michigan State. Great, that's awesome. But I just don't see it happening. I don't see how the value is here for Jaden Ivey, selling low on Jaden Ivey for basically Kevin Herter. I just think this is a big flop, as is. And I have more to say on it, but I want to hear your opinions on it. But as of right now, a big flop for Detroit.
I want to give my view on Jaden Ivey for just a sec. Like, I just think that it's honestly really unlucky how things progress with Jaden Ivey. Like, just when, last year, December, January of last season, when he's just taking the strides, taking the steps to being the guy who you draft him to be, who develops a jump shot and is not just a guy who was, slicing and dicing you. He takes that step, and you're thinking, you're pairing him with Cade, everything's going to be fantastic. And then you mentioned it, but Cole Anthony, that absolute rat, dives at his ankles, breaks his ankle, breaks his leg, and kind of the rest is history. In a bad way for Jaden Ivey. It sucks because this year, he's coming back from that injury, pretty gruesome injury, but something that you can come back from. He's kind of been on a pitch count, a minute count, and pair that with just, he isn't quite fitting in with the rest of the roster. The roster is doing pretty outstanding with Ivey in just a limited role, playing 15 minutes a game. Ivey's still contributing, he's still shooting pretty good from three, but it's just seemingly... he didn't have like a great fit into this offense. So I think all of it's just really unlucky how it unfolded with that injury. And because of that, now you're coming into a Jaden Ivey, contract extension year, and you're thinking, well, he is not our fit. We do have to sell him. Unfortunately, he is at his lowest right now, in part because of that injury. So it's really, really unlucky. You would love to get a lot more value out of him. It's kind of, the state of the union right now in terms of Jaden Ivey. So yeah, really unlucky. And I will say, when I saw the Kevin Herter headlines, I was pretty underwhelmed. I mean, yeah, he's a good shooter, but that's come more historically. And, it's this is a what have you done for me lately league, and he just hasn't been great. So maybe a change of scenery is going to be good for Kevin Herter. Coming into a a team that has championship aspirations, who is desperate for shooters, desperate for space. It just seems like, maybe it's going to be a good thing for Kevin. And, he's going to have a lot of opportunities. Defenses are crashing in on Cade, and the ball's got to go somewhere. So, you would like to think he's going to get a ton of open shots. Duncan Robinson gets a ton of open shots right now, especially when you're looking at, like a playoff series, in April, May, June, hopefully, where teams right now, they could probably just pack the paint against the Pistons and say, hey, we'll dare you to shoot. You take the least threes in the league, or one of the least in the league. You make one of the least in the league. We're going to let you shoot. So maybe a guy like Herter is going to just feast and really make you defend him. That's going to open things up for our interior and for guys like Cade as well. So I want to say that it could work out, but all in all, like, it sucks that we have to sell so low on Jaden Ivey, a guy who we were both really high on. We both love Ivey. I want him to do well for his, his new change of scenery, but it really sucks how everything unfolded.
So the last thing I'll say about Jaden Ivey, because you hit it on the head, he's in a contract year right now, him and Jalen Duren. Obviously, Jalen Duren just named to his first All-Star appearance. He's going to get, we've been very honest on that. Like I said during last offseason, we should have extended Jalen Duren. He's going to command a lot of money.
By the way, you absolutely nailed that.
Thank you. I will take my victory lap as long as we can still sign him. If we can't sign him, if we get priced out, then there's no sense in taking the lap. But so we're going to have to spend money on Jalen Duren. Jaden Ivey, I mean, naturally, we weren't going to pay him to probably what he wanted. If he was going to be like, hey, I understand that it's a business. I understand you want to see a little bit more from me coming back from the injury. Let's do a 1 year, or they're extension eligible, so like let's do something else. Let's figure it out, a lower deal or something like that. Maybe that would have worked out, but we weren't going to give him what we're going to give Jalen Duren, which is just unfortunate because you look at his numbers last year. He had 30 games last year before he got injured. He was averaging 17.6 points per game, almost 41% from three on over 5 attempts, which is just, it's awesome. It's what you exactly need. He wasn't really the distributor that we really need on this team. There really is no one that can handle the ball. So even if he was putting up those numbers, he's a great scorer, but he only averaged, even last year when he was firing on all cylinders, only averaged 4 assists per game. So not really someone that could handle the facilitator role when Cade needs a breather. So maybe even if he was putting up those numbers, there still would be a little bit of a questionable fit. But like you said, this year his numbers are down 8.2 points per game, still shooting 37% from three, but just on 3.5 attempts per game. Played in 33 games, only started 2. His minutes were almost 30 minutes per game last year. He's down to 16.8. Rumor has it he's been, the last 2 to 3 weeks, he's been vocal with the front office that he's upset with the amount of playing time he's gotten, how they kind of brought him back from this injury. So it seems like it just wasn't going to work out. Kevin Herter, on the other hand, right now this year, he's averaging 10.9 points per game, 2.6 assists, 3.8 rebounds. Again, shooting 31% from three on 55.1 attempts per game on basically 23.6 minutes. So you're absolutely right in that, everybody who is going to come play next to Cade is going to shoot the ball better. We have seen Kevin Herter be a good shooter. It's been almost over a year in which he hasn't been, but playing alongside Cade should naturally just allow him to be a better shooter and give him more opportunities. Pair that with the fact that Detroit, it's, a little known fact, something that a lot of people forget. Detroit has they have the best 3-point shooting specialist assistant coach in Fred Vinson on their sideline, on the court side. So he's done wonders with Asar and Ron Holland, both still not great 3-point shooters, but they could be worse. I'll just say that. He's done a great job. You can go through the list of guys that Fred Vinson has worked with. Lonzo Ball, when he used to play with him, there's a bunch of different guys that can literally point to Fred Vinson and say he turned my career around because he helped me shoot my threes. So if there's anyone in this league, coaching wise, that can sit Kevin down and be like, all right, let's watch these games in which you were shooting 41% from three. Let's watch these games in which you were shooting 30% from three. What'd you do different? Let's figure it out. So I think it's going to be better than what he has done in the last 2 years in Chicago. I don't think it's going to be great. Again, it's more like the idea of Kevin Herter that is, it fits what they're trying to do. But again, it just doesn't make any sense.
Asar Thompson, by the way, he is up to 30% from three on the season. That is up from basically 20% his first couple seasons.
Fred Vincent's a guy.
I'm with you there, Fred Vincent. He hasn't quite gotten to Ronnie Holland yet, who's still at 20. I don't even want to say this out loud. He's at 23%. We'll round it up to 24% for Ron Holland from three. But yes, the point still stands. He's an excellent coach. So especially an established 3-point shooter like Kevin Huerter, if there's anyone who can maybe get you out of your slump that you've been in for the past couple of years, or you're up and down 3-point shooting for the past couple of years, it's probably going to be Fred Vincent. I just hope that it's not the only one. And granted,
Yeah.
like this Pistons team, they already obviously have championship aspirations. I think they are, they're not without their flaws. They are an exceptional defensive team, and you didn't want to break anything like that up. Also, we'll talk about guys in the locker room and veteran presences, and wanting to keep some guys in there. But I do think, everyone knew this. The one flaw that the team had, it was 3-point shooting, both from a volume standpoint and an efficiency standpoint. The Pistons are basically bottom of the league in both of those departments. So you needed to bring in a guy. So that is what they're doing. We can all see why they made this trade. It kind of sucks when you did have Jaden Ivey, who is shooting better from three than Huerter right now. But again, I get why they're doing it from a contract standpoint, from an extension standpoint for Ivey. But I think we are well within our rights to still be a little pissed that this is the trade that happened, if this is the only one that goes down for the Pistons.
Exactly. So those are our thoughts on Ivy. Again, we didn't really get into Dario Saric. He's like 31
averages like 2
years
points a
old,
game, right?
32 years old, 1 point a game. So the next thing is like, where do we go from here? So and this is a whole other separate conversation. So right now, as the Pistons sit, they are 2 guys over the roster limit. That's because obviously we're about to be 1 guy, and the reason we're 2 is because Dennis Jenkins has been playing on a 2-way deal. Dennis Jenkins, partially the reason why Jaden Ivey was a little more expendable, even though over the last 2 weeks, again, as Jaden has been vocal that he's not very happy. I know a lot of teams weren't calling on him and weren't really interested, but one reason why Jaden Ivey has been expendable is because Dennis Jenkins has been so great over this whole season, honestly. Dennis Jenkins, about the same size, a little bit bigger than Jaden Ivey, but just playing fantastic. He's on a 2-way deal. His 2-way deal, essentially, you can only play so many games on a 2-way deal, which it makes sense. It allows people not to hide under 2-way deals. Eventually, you had to convert him to a full-time contract. We actually tried to extend him. Naturally, his representation tried to extend him to a minimum. His representation said no, which obviously that makes a lot of sense. They're going to wait to the end of the year and sign a whole new contract that is based off of his performance this year. Good for him. Good for his representation. He's deserving of to get off his 2-way and get onto a regular contract. So that's one roster spot that you already need to figure out. Who if you're gonna add him to the roster, you got to cut someone. So that's one. Now, obviously, you're shipping out Jaden Ivey. You're bringing in Dario Saric and then Kevin Huerter. That's another guy. So now you have 2 guys, 2 roster spots that you need to open up. Naturally, the most likely scenario is that Dario Saric is just going to be cut. It's no harm, no foul. Again, 32 years old, 1 point per game, not going to do anything. Likely, you probably cut Isaac Jones, who was kind of a waiver addition back in like November. A big man. I think he only played in 1 game. I'm not really sure why they even brought him in the first place. Likely, those are going to be the 2 guys that get cut. But all that to say, the Pistons hopefully still aren't done. The other option this trade deadline, and the most common option, was that no matter what if we're gonna go star hunting, if we were gonna go get a Michael Porter Jr., if we were gonna go get, even as unlikely as it was, a Lauri Markkanen or some other guys, Trey Murphy, almost 98% of the time we were gonna have to trade Tobias Harris out. He was gonna have to be going out just to match the salaries, because I believe the Pistons can only bring in around 125% of their outgoing salary, meaning you only have you can only trade, if you're trading out this many salary, you can only take back in this amount. So you have to basically attach a large salary going out if you're going to take in a large salary coming in. Tobias Harris makes the second most money on this team behind Cade Cunningham. You're not moving on from Cade. Tobias is on an expiring contract, a little bit older. Naturally, Tobias was going to basically be the one who was involved in any big trade. Now, the question was, and this is kind of in my head, the battle I was having, what is that worth? Is it worth? Tobias Harris has repeatedly been called by JB Bickerstaff his safety blanket. When guys are on the court, we got a bunch of young guys. Tobias is like 32, I think. A bunch of young guys on the court. When they're running around and getting out of control, JB has said repeatedly he'll throw Tobias in there, and Tobias will calm everyone down. He's a veteran locker room glue guy. Like, Tobias loves Detroit. When we traded for him back in the day, he came here. He met his wife, who's from here. They got married. We traded him away. Tobias came back to Detroit. He loves the city. So it's like, if we were to trade him away for a star, yeah, we get better. but then you kind of are messing with some locker room chemistry. So that was my battle of like, did we really want to trade Tobias Harris just to get better? Like maybe you're getting worse by, by losing him. And so that's one thing that bringing in Kevin Huerter can do. Now we have Kevin Huerter who makes I think almost 18 million per year. That's not as much as Tobias Harris makes. So you can't you'd have to package him together with some guys or something, and it gets tricky. You can't package certain guys together and their salaries. But essentially, you can now package Kevin Huerter, maybe that pick swap that we got from Minnesota, throw in an extra first-round pick or something, and you can go out and get the star that we all wanted them to get, the Michael Porter Jr.'s, the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s before he got traded today. You could go out and get those and not lose Tobias Harris. You could keep him and his glue veteran presence in the locker room. Use the Kevin Huerter stuff to, flip him in any way and get someone bigger. That might still be the case. A lot of people, in the know think that Detroit's not done. Hell, a lot of people thought Detroit wasn't going to do anything this trade deadline. So it's really a wait and see. I mean, if you think back to last year, we traded for Kenyon Martin, who I think came from the 76ers, a lesser known younger guy. But I remember multiple articles about how can Kenyon Martin Jr. help this team? What's his role going to be? What's his minutes going to look like? And then 2 days later, we flipped him. He never even suited. I don't even think he ever came to Detroit. We flipped him immediately. So it's all fluid. And that I think would be the best case scenario. Kevin Huerter maybe doesn't ever even come to Detroit. We just use him, flip it, package some stuff together, package some picks together, package the first round swap we got, maybe another guy, maybe a Marcus Sasser, maybe a Karis LeVert, and you still go out and get, one of the stars, the Michael Porter Jr.'s or something, and keep your Tobias Harris veteran presence here. I think that's probably my perfect scenario moving forward. Do I think they're going to do that? I don't. I didn't think they were going to do anything, to be honest with you, but that is kind of moving forward what is still possible for this team.
Do you think they could get it done two first round picks, Kevin Huerter for Michael Porter Jr.? Is that enough?
So I think in my head, I think you could do. The Nets are so difficult to work with because they're historically a sporadic franchise. They'll do random crazy shit that you're that doesn't make any sense. But then they also have a million draft picks coming up, so you're okay, maybe they actually knew what they were doing. Reportedly Michael Porter Jr. is not available for them. He's every team wants to add him. Every team is willing to give up from them. Apparently, they're saying he's not available. I think you could do a Kevin Huerter, that first round swap. We got an additional first, and then Karis LeVert, maybe Bobby Clinton. You could throw in, one other guy that's on the roster, not an Isaac Jones or, not one of those guys, but a young guy, Marcus Sasser, Karis LeVert. I think you can probably get it done with that. But again, I don't know if that's going to be the case. And the other thing with him is Michael Porter Jr., just not to get on a tangent, reportedly, he's not the best guy in the locker room. Apparently, he has a little bit of an ego issue. So that's why, in the first place, people were talking Michael Porter Jr. for Tobias in picks or whatever. If you're going to bring Michael Porter, you're going to bring in someone that has, quote unquote, some ego issues, maybe some locker room issues. You got to have a guy like Tobias. You got to have the 33-year-old unk in there and, to talk to him and guide him and make sure everything's level and copacetic. So I think that gets it done. I don't think he's available, but I pray that would be, I literally, we might even do an emergency podcast because that would be an A+ trade deadline for us.
First emergency podcast in Gridiron Report history. That would be awesome. I'm just looking at MPJ's stats right now, and granted, these are all inflated. His usage is up a ton, going from Denver to Brooklyn. He's basically one of the only guys they have, right? He's averaging 25.6 a game, 7 boards on still that, nearly 40% from 3. So again, he's still young, prime of his career. He's had injury concerns even, before he got to the league, right?
Yeah.
He basically sat out that rookie season due to injuries. So, that's always there. I don't know if you've heard about this, just, weird kind of apparatus that he wears when he plays.
Yeah.
That kind of, that guy's, we don't have to get into it, but apparently it helps, and he's been relatively injury free for quite a bit now. But yeah, that'd be awesome if he's not on the table. That does suck. I do think that I want to see another move. I just don't know that Kevin Huerter really moves the dial a ton, especially when you did ship off Jaden Ivey. So did the team get that much better? I don't see it right now. I would love to get another shooter in the building, another a wing who can stretch out the floor, because that's something they desperately need right now, especially when you're talking about lineups that they're trotting out that might feature an Asar Thompson and and a Ron Holland at the same time with Jalen Duren, all those guys on the court at the same time, there's just absolutely zero shooting there. So I know Asar's getting a little bit better, but yeah, you need more. So especially for those, minutes and like, late in the second quarter, whatever, would hate to let other teams back in just because we literally can't shoot the ball.
Right now, we can't sit here and like predict how Fred Vincent's going to work with Kevin Huerter, or how everything's going to. Right now, we're not a better team than we were 8 hours ago. We technically got a better draft pick, and we can get into that kind of in a second when we talk about the Michigan State game, because I think that does align with that pretty well. So like technically our future is a little bit brighter, but we got a lot older at a position. We're not better than we were before this trade. That's why I think there's a larger thing at play here. If that is the case, if we do, flip Kevin in the swap and like put some things together, that essentially would mean that we valued to buy, because that would essentially be trading out Jaden Ivey to get Huerter, to flip Huerter, to trade for a larger star and keep Tobias. So that would essentially mean we valued Tobias Harris's veteran presence in the locker room over Jaden Ivey, his potential, what he's going to ask for this offseason. We basically are valuing Tobias's glue guy necessities over Jaden Ivey, which short term, maybe that works. Maybe long term that works. I don't know. It's hard to say, but we're not a better team, in my opinion, than we were eight hours ago. So those are my thoughts on it. Again, a lot more going on there. The East is wide open. Other teams are making moves because they also see it being wide open. The Cavs just traded for James Harden, for God's sake. There is talk about Giannis being traded out of the East, going over to the West, which makes our path even easier. Not that they're really any threat, in my opinion, this year. They've kind of been struggling. Miles Turner hasn't been that great, but going forward makes it easier. It'll be interesting. The last thing I'll say is that in this trade, obviously Kevin Huerter came from Chicago, and Minnesota was offered Kobe White in that trade, and they basically said, nope, no thank you. We'd rather have that money in, because they're gearing up to go after Giannis. So if Kobe White was available for Minnesota, you'd have to think that Kobe White was available for we technically maybe could have brought back Kobe White, who's a point guard, a scorer, someone that we actually could have really used. So it doesn't really make sense that we said no, because the two holes that we had this offseason, whatever, was a younger position at power forward, 3-point shooting, and a backup point guard, backup ball handler that maybe you think Dennis Shankins can be, maybe not. So there still is definitely some holes in this roster that it's gonna get crazy. I hope it gets crazy, because if it doesn't get crazy, then I guess we're gonna run this till the wheels fall off, and unfortunately it'll fall into the same category as all the Detroit sports, in which we've gotten here despite all of our issues, and what got us here won't get us there. And unfortunately, it's a plague that all Detroit GMs suffer from. So
yeah, dude, completely agree. I just think that the team right now, it's very good, but the shooting is just not going to be there come time for making an NBA Finals push. And I think you're probably looking at a second round exit for a team like this. I think that's certainly they could go further, but just without the shooting, I'm just not seeing it right now. So hopefully a lot more to come. Trajan Langdon.
Okay, so we're actually going to not go to a break. We're going to plow right through that break here, and we're just going to jump right into some Michigan State stuff, because it does technically, with the pick swap that we just had, kind of puts us in play, the Pistons in play for a possible Michigan lottery pick, a big game that happened over the weekend. Before we do that, you have some words from a sponsor, though.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, this College Hoops segment is brought to you by Good Feels Cannabis Seltzer. The cannabis seltzer from Good Feels offers a new era of refreshment. Fellas, we're out of January. It's February 4th. We are officially out of dry January. However, Good Feels still has you covered if you want to still kick that beer and still get some good quality cannabis seltzer. So yeah, crafted with high quality natural ingredients, these beverages provide a consistent, enjoyable, and uplifting experience, perfect for any occasion. And the best part is our exclusive discount code, promo code GRIT. That's promo code GRIT for 20% off any product at shop.getgoodfeels.com. Shout out Get Good Feels. Thanks, fellas. But yeah, college hoops, man. And just preface, this game fucking sucked. Yes, there were some good things, but from a Michigan State perspective, especially the first half, what a tough watch. I think the Spartans had I want to say at least 11 turnovers in the first half. They were shooting, I don't even know. I don't have the first half numbers up in front of me, but if memory serves, they were like shooting 17% from the field or something egregious, maybe in the low 20s, but still, like, just Michigan was having their way with it. It seemed like it was going to be a blowout. I think it shows the talent gap between these two teams. It shows that, this Michigan State team still very much has glaring holes. The shooting just isn't good enough. Yes, it's probably better than it has been in years past, but they went so cold, which sucks to see at home. A rocking Breslin Center. The crowd looked insane, and for big parts of that first half, it was relatively quiet just because there was nothing to cheer for. So overall, tough scene there. Michigan wins 83-71.
Yeah, 83-71 at halftime. It was Michigan 42, Michigan State 26. I was so close to turning this game off just because it was, like you said, it was pretty brutal from a Michigan State standpoint. Michigan State actually outscored Michigan in the second half 45-41, but obviously you dig yourself a hole that large as Michigan State did in the first half. It's just extremely difficult to come back from. And now the final score, obviously Michigan State losing by 12. I think it was a lot closer than that. There was a time, I think it was within like 5 minutes to go. Michigan State actually took the lead by 1 or 2, and then there was just a few swings. There was a foul that was overturned, and then a hook and hold and stuff. That it was like a 5 or 6 point swing, and just like that, Michigan kind of took back that lead. And then towards the end of the game, we ended up going through the whole fouling thing and free throws, and ended up being a lot larger of a win for Michigan than you'd originally think. Looking at the box score,
you mentioned the swings. I do recall we were up 1 and then actually got the ball back after taking the lead, and I think we had a pretty good look for a 3, missed it. Michigan ensuing possession came down and canned a 3, and the rest wasn't exactly history, but it kind of was after that. So just big swings in the game down the stretch.
And there was one, I think there was a foul down low on Yaxel Lendenberg, and then they reviewed it, and it actually was overturned. The foul was on us, and they got the ball. And so it was a whole swing at home for Michigan State. Like you said, just really brutal. But you look at the team stats from, I really think both these teams, it's interesting because these teams are constructed in complete opposite ways. Dusty May goes out and he works the transfer portal. There's a lot of rumors out there that he works the transfer portal a little bit early in season for a lot of guys. We're not going to really touch on that. No really confirming whether that's the case or not. It's a wide known fact amongst Big Ten coaches that he does that though. But he works and gets the kind of like the Indiana football premise of like getting the older guys, getting the transfers. Michigan State, obviously Tom Izzo was highly against the transfer portal. He'll add 1 or 2 guys, but he's going to recruit out of high school and build these guys up. So it's interesting. They're built in 2 different ways, but you look at these teams and the stats outside of one, I'll get to that at the end. The stats are almost identical. So Michigan had 59 field goals or attempted 59 field goals. Michigan State attempted 60. Michigan made 26 of them. Michigan State made 22 of them. Field goal percentage, Michigan had 44%, Michigan State 37%. Free throws percentage, 88 to 85. Rebounds, both 36. Assists, both 14. Michigan State had seven steals as opposed to Michigan's 2 steals. Michigan State's one of the best defensive teams in the country, so that makes sense. Turnovers, 13 to 14, almost exactly the same. Points in the paint, 26 to 32, very much the same. Fast break points, 18 to 15, very much the same. Fouls, 21 to 23, very much the same. The difference, that truly was just it was so vastly different. It was a 3-point shooting. So Michigan came out 3-point shooting, 8 for 21, 38%. Michigan State 4 for 23, just 17% 3-point shooting. So on paper, you take away 3-point shooting, these teams are very much alike. I think they very much they're fast-paced teams. They play pretty good defense. They like to get the ball in the paint. They're very, very good teams. The difference 100% is just the 3-point shooting. Michigan State just doesn't have it. And when you look at the box scores themselves, you look at, just speaking of for Michigan State, you had Jeremy Fears, who finished with 31 points, which is just insane. Outside of him, you had Jackson Kohler with 12, Colin Carr with 10. Jordan Scott, the freshman, who had a really good game. It looks like he will be maybe starting moving forward, had 10. But you got Kurt Tang, who is one of the best 3-point shooters on this team, 0 points. Just took 1 3-point shot, 0 for 1 shot in general, went 0 for 1 and 12 points. Like, in a game that you are shooting 17% from 3, you need one of your best 3-point shooters to hit at least something. And that's where Michigan State, I'll get into Michigan here in a second. That's where Michigan State really struggles. And it really sucks because they brought in a 40-plus three-point shooter in Caleb Glenn. He obviously tore his ACL in preseason practice before the season even started. So that really hurts. You add him, maybe this is a different game, but you just can't get any more from Jeremy Fears. That you need something from other guys. And real quick, before I want to get your thoughts on like Spartans box score, and then we can jump over to Michigan here in a second. I do want to say the Jeremy Fears stuff, a lot of it's been going online with the way Jeremy Fears plays. We've talked about it before. It's no secret that like I would absolutely hate to play against Jeremy Fears. He knows he does it differently than someone like in the NBA, like SGA, who is flopping, and Jalen Brunson, like basically bouncing off of any small contact. Jeremy Fears actually gets contacted. He gets fouled, but he puts himself in position to get fouls. Running up the court, he'll purposely run in front of you, so you kind of bowl him over, and yeah, he'll jump, but like there was contact, so it's different than NBA. There was a few dirty plays that, I saw on Twitter. He tripped a guy once, and, I 100% disavow that. I do think this was a lot going back and forth. Michigan, they had a few plays that was dirty. Even going back to last year, you had a few different dirty plays. So, like, both teams were playing dirty. I disavow the tripping and, like, the dirty stuff that Jeremy Fears did of that nature. But he's going to hunt the fouls. He's actually getting contacted. So, like, I don't think you can blame him for that. But, again, the tripping stuff, got to kind of got to cut that out.
Yeah, it's just blatant foul baiting. I mean, there's a way to do it where, like, yeah, it's within the rules. It's not like head scratching. And then there's kind of what Jeremy Fears did on last Friday night, where just straight up running on the court, and basically he's just picking out the biggest guy from Michigan and just straight up slowing down in front of the guy and
getting over
and getting run over. So I mean, it's within the rules. It's not exactly how I would like to play basketball, but it's it's especially when you are outmatched against one of, if not the best teams in the country. Like, I mean, you gotta get it where you can. So yeah, I see where he's going from. He's trying to get fouls from their best players, get them in foul trouble, and gain that edge wherever you can. So again, not saying I especially appreciate it or like it, but it's one of the many reasons why Jeremy Fears is so successful. And he gets to the free throw line. He's been exceptional at the line. 12 of 14 against just 31 points in general, to go along with 7 assists, 5 boards. He was the heart and soul of this team. It seemed like everyone else just did not have a pulse. Like Jackson Kohler, just a bad game. 4 of 13 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3, which isn't horrible, especially for a big man. But 4 of 13 is just not going to get it done. He had 12 points. 5 boards, some big boards from him too, but just not good enough. And then I don't know. They're just the shooting in general. You mentioned it, but when you go 4 of 23 from 3-point at home, it's just, you're not going to win very many games, especially against the caliber of team like Michigan. So obviously, I'm not sounding any alarms. It's certainly something where you gotta just move on from a game like this where you probably played a C+ effort at best, and you still fought back. I liked that they fought back, especially in the second half. It was fun. The game was fun again. They took the lead late. The Brez was into it. The Izone was into it. Not the final result that we wanted, but yeah, there's probably still things you can build on this, but they got to be a lot better. If you want a deep run in March, that's just not the effort that's going to get that done.
Yeah, you just said it. The second half was fun. The crowd got into it. Jeremy Fears did a great job getting him into it. But if this was at the Chrysler Arena, they don't come back in this game. Like, it's an actual blowout. Going over to the Michigan side, box score wise, Elliot Kudo is a fantastic point guard. I mean, we talked about the 3-point percentage being the difference. Elliot hit some big 3-pointers. He was 3 for 5 on the night, something that our point guard just couldn't do. Obviously, our point guard put up 31, but shooting from 3 would have been nice. You had Jeremy Fears, who went 1 for 5 from 3-point range. Elliot Kudo went 3 for 5, some big ones late in the game when we were trying to make that comeback. He finished with 17 points. Morez Johnson, another transfer from Illinois, finished with 12 points. You had, some guys on I will say the Will Cheddar 3-pointer where he jumped into the defender. I think it was Jordan Scott who ended up getting that foul. That was horse shit. Like, that just can't be. You cannot call that. That's really terrible.
Absolutely ridiculous. I was distraught after that. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. And in what universe is he trying to actually get a shot off?
He's done that a few times this year, and so they got to be aware of that. And moving forward, not to let him get away with that. But the name of the game was Yaxel Lendenborg. We didn't have an answer for him. Yaxel Lendenborg. We talked about him when he transferred to Michigan. He was a guy who was in the first round of the NBA of mock drafts for last year. likely going to be borderline a lottery pick, and kind of was getting the reports back from teams and saying whether it's be lottery or not. Michigan ended up throwing the bag at him and was like, listen, you are borderline lottery, borderline first round. Come play for us, make a couple $1 million, go to the league next year. And he was like the top portal prospect this past offseason, and he looked like it. I mean, he's a 6'9" 6'9" power forward with handles. She can shoot the three. He only shot 1 for 4 from 3-point range on Friday night. But I mean, he just dominated. He finished with 26 points, 12 rebounds, 2 blocks. I mean, 1 assist, didn't really pass the ball, but we didn't have an answer for him. We had no one that could really stop him. And so, I mean, if you're Michigan, you have all the pieces for a really deep run. You have Yaxel, who's 23 years old. He's somewhat of a veteran, can an all-around star player do it. You have a really good point guard who can still shoot. You have the 7'3" center who can just stand in the paint and block shot after shot. Ade Mara finished with 3 blocks on the night. You have at least one decent bench player in Trey McKinney, the freshman from Detroit, who Michigan State was trying to recruit as well. I think they dropped out of that at some point, but he finished 2 for 6 from 3-point range. So like Michigan, they have all the pieces to make a really deep run this postseason in March. And so you got to be happy. And I think, as obviously you and I are Spartan fans, we're Michigan State alum, I think the only solace we can take in this is pair this with the Detroit Pistons getting a little pick swap, because as it sat at the moment, so Lendenberg would fit exactly what Detroit needs. Like, he's a little bit older, can probably plug him into a lineup immediately and have him play, because he's not 18 years old, still learning the game. He's a power forward, a young replacement for Tobias. He can shoot the three, he can handle the ball. He's a perfect fit for this Pistons team, but he wasn't going to be there likely where we expect to end up in like the 26, 27, 28 range in the NBA draft. He might be there at 20 if the Timberwolves keep, they have the 4th hardest schedule towards the end as we finish the year here. If we get a 20th pick, there's a chance Yaxel might be there. He still might be, gone by then. We'll see how he finishes the year, but Yaxel might be there at 20. So we could be looking at Yaxel, in Detroit wearing a Pistons jersey. So I guess that's one of the only solace points we can take as watching this Michigan team, because you guys look impressive.
Yeah, dude, Yaxel's a beast. Yeah, you said it great, but like, we didn't have a single stop. Like, we couldn't stop the guy. It was a force to be reckoned with, especially inside. Basically, getting to the free throw line at will. And he made 13 out of 15. So, yeah, he can do a little bit of everything. He's big enough, but he also has that strength too. So, he could really do it all. And that's really what I noticed, just like the size discrepancy between Michigan and Michigan State. You look at a guy like Mara, who it was SWAT City, just. I think he had 3. It seemed like he had more than 3 blocks. I swear he had like 2 on one play once. But yeah, just looking at a 7'3" guy versus our biggest guy might be, I don't know, 6'10". Coop might be 6'11", but still, like it did seem like men amongst boys. Never great to see your rival just kind of big dicking you like that. And they're clearly the better team. They came into the Brez as road favorites, which is almost unheard of. They got the job done. So it's gonna be a battle in Ann Arbor. Certainly an uphill battle. I think Michigan State will have to play their A game, maybe A+ to beat this team, especially at Chrysler. So that was an ass kicking. You gotta you take your licks and move on.
So Michigan moves into sole possession of first place in the Big Ten. I mean, if you're Michigan State, next time, so we play at the Chrysler Arena March 8th. If you're Michigan State, you just can't. I mean, we missed 14 of our first 18 shots. We finished the first half with more turnovers than field goals. So, like, hey, don't do that, and maybe we'll have a chance. But it'll be really interesting. It was a packed house. Dan Campbell was in the house wearing, Michigan State shirt, Michigan State hat. It'll be interesting to see if he would just kind of was supporting the home team, and he goes to, Chrysler and flips it and wears a Michigan shirt and hat just to support both teams. It'll be interesting. I mean, obviously, one of his star players is a Michigan alum, so I wouldn't put it past him. Kind of hoping the Spartans can just steal Dan Campbell. Not biased at all, but it kind of seems like Dan Campbell would be more of a Spartan fan, just because Michigan State's always kind of been, the underdog, the Mark D'Antonio, the night's darkest before the dawn, kind of Dan Campbell style football. So, like, maybe he's a Michigan State fan. Maybe he'll just be kind of a whatever's the home team I'm going to root for. But yeah, shout out Dan Campbell for being there in the house on Friday night. All right. Let's wrap up the show with some grit of the week. Before we do that, You guys know Grid of the Week is brought to you by Pins and Aces, one of our favorite sponsors. Pins and Aces is a Colorado-based golf brand making premium polos, head covers, and gear that perform on and off the course. It's 30 degrees here up in Michigan. I'm sure we have at least 2 more winter weather storms to come through, but it's almost feeling like you can get out there on the course. If nothing else, you can start preparing to get out on the course. Go buy it for yourself, buy it for your loved ones. Go to pinsandaces.com for quality and material you can feel. You can enjoy an exclusive discount with our promo code GRIT at pinsandaces.com. This promo code GRIT, G-R-I-T, for 21% off any product at pinsandaces.com. Grit of the week. You want to kick us off? You want me to go first?
I will kick us off, man. This is a guy that we have talked about recently because he's been so hot. My grit of the week, John Gibson, man. Gibby, it's just a huge shutout on Monday night against the Avs, the best team in the NHL. Granted, the Avs have kind of had not the best January, but still, just an electric team. It's a team that actually just shit pumped the Red Wings five days prior, whenever it was, a couple days prior. But just a great bounce back from Gibby in just a must win. The team, I think, had lost 3 in a row. I mean, you're playing the Avs. But yeah, just in general, man, just what he's done, his body of work this season. Just 2.6 goals allowed, which is his lowest date, I believe. Maybe he might have mixed in a couple seasons earlier in his career. But for a while, he was hovering more towards that 3 goals a game, even higher. So yeah, just he's been outstanding. 905 save percentage on the season, 4 shutouts, which is just a really tremendous number, given that we're only just at the beginning of February right now. So, but yeah, anytime you shut out the best team in the league, you're gonna get grit of the week from me. So shout out Gibby, shout out John Gibson.
Yeah, I did not see you going there. I definitely, in my mind, I had someone picked out because I actually went to my secondary option because I thought for sure you were going to pick my first. I'm glad you did, because I mean, when we got Gibson, people were like, okay, I mean, when you bring him here, maybe a better defense in front of him, he'll have a better year. Started out the year really cold. Everyone kind of, I think, was like, oh shit, here we go again. And he's been, I mean, the best goaltender in the entire league. So I'm glad you brought it up. He definitely deserves that. My grit of the week, I'm actually going to split it because, like I said, I had one guy that I was for sure thought you were going to take him, and so I was going to go to my secondary. I think both of them are deserving of it. I'm going to give my grit of the week, co-grits of the week. My first one to first-time All-Star Jalen Duren, also going to be participating in the All-Star Slam Dunk competition. Jalen Duren this year, 41 games, averaging 18 points. He has a 10.7 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 0.9 steals, 0.8 blocks. He is a 2-point conversion, a 2-point rate of 63%, which is really just unheard of for true shooting. He is playing fantastic. It was going to be really a snub if he didn't make the All-Star game, so I'm glad that they did right by him. I mean, you have your best team in the East. One of our star players is starting in the All-Star game. Our coach is the coach. Like, you had to have at least one other guy, so I'm glad that Jalen Duren is finally, getting recognized and putting it all together. Like, we talked about last year. Like, last year, he had a lot to put together, and he's doing exactly that. So I'm glad he's been able to do it defensively. He's getting it done. The other guy, because I thought for sure you were going to go to Jalen for getting his first All-Star nod. The other guy, I'm going to give it to Asar Thompson, staying with the Pistons. Asar Thompson named the Eastern Conference Defensive Player of the Month, just 1 month after Isaiah Stewart won it. So we have back-to-back Eastern Conference Defensive Player of the Month. Asar Thompson has been insane defensively. He has been, better than anyone really thought he could. He's gone to even a further level. Perimeter isolation defense, he's in the 98th percentile. Ball screen navigation, 98th percentile. Off-ball chaser defense, 100th percentile. Pickpocket rating, 97th percentile. Passing lane defense, 95th percentile. All these statistics. Rim protection, 2nd percentile, and he's 6'7". Mm-hmm. He is absolutely insane. We said it before, we'll say it again. So happy. Like, defense, having offensive firepower, like raining threes, like the Warriors used to do back in the day when they were their dynasty. That's fun. But just having an absolute dominant defense where like teams they're like limping out of Detroit after they come play us is so fun. So shout out to Jalen Duren for his first All-Star nod. Shout out to Asar Thompson, Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Both co-grits of the week for me.
Hell yeah. And two probably glaring omissions by me. I was just, honestly,
I
watched the Wings game last night, and I'm like,
yeah.
Dude, Gibby needs one. But yes, definitely Duren and Asar too. I did see too, you mentioned a lot of Asar Thompson metrics. He's doing it all against like the opposing team's best players. Like he's not, not just, you know, a merchant of guarding the 6th man, 7th man, whatever. He's guarding Steph and still, you know, putting the clamps on. So yeah, just he's a freak athlete. If the rest of his game comes along, which we hope he will, we can see it maybe a little bit more out of his brother right now, but he's going to be just so special if he can just shoot the ball a little bit better. Free throws, these are like easy things that he does all the hard things really well. It's the easy things now that I think that he can really develop his game. He's going to be so special, man.
Yeah, we played the Warriors the other night, and I just saw clip after clip. Like Steph Curry was so visibly upset and tired and worn down from Asar playing defense on him. It was so funny to watch. It's so fun. So Grits of the week. Shout out to all them. Gibby definitely worthy. You know, no shade to him. So, all right, that's our show. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. You can find both Kyle and I on Twitter at Kyle_Marino and myself at Dutton_Tyler. You can follow the podcast itself on Instagram or TikTok at Gridiron Report, on Twitter at Gridiron Report 1, or you can watch these full-length episodes on YouTube at Gridiron Report. Finally, you can join the conversation next week by calling into the Gridiron Report voicemail for us to play and discuss on the podcast. Hopefully we have more groundbreaking Pistons news, packaging some guys up, making some more moves that we're going to be reviewing next week. Call into that voicemail. Give us your thoughts and opinions on it. That number is 313-306-7939. And if you like this episode, please take a moment to rate it 5 stars. Leave us a review saying so. Follow us on all forms of social media. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, y'all. Let's go Pistons.
A journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retired. Grit Iron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on, blast beats thunder and loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report where the stories are proud. Tune in, bring the heat, make your fandom a vow. Make your fandom a vow.